out the planet. Here we invite the people who are putting their huge contribution and working in making the planet a better place to live in with their different work and in their own ways. And for today's talk, we have a very, very special guest here, and his name is Karan. Before I introduce Karan, I would like you all to take a moment of silence, which means that आप जहां भी है आराम से बैठ जाए, अपनी आंखें बंद करें, and just take some deep breaths so that from wherever you are, you can just focus on this 1.5 hour completely being present here. So just and take some deep breaths. Deep inhalations and exhalations to bring your mind to the present moment. And make an intention that you will kind of take away all the learnings from this session today. Take some more deep breaths. And try to focus on the present moment. You can gently open your eyes and we will begin with the session. So today we have a visionary of Anushra, Mr. Karan, with us here for a talk. Welcome, Karan. I would like to introduce you a bit. Karan is a founder of an organization called Anushra, and all I can tell is he's a nature lover. And for Anushra friends, he's a food grower, art studio, tested truth revealed, ancient laboratory, and sustainable way of living. And his journey towards connecting with nature and sustainable living started with the to know about how we directly get things to eat from nature. For example, experiencing tomatoes from a plant versus we get canned ones from the supermarket shelf. So I know everyone here are curious and will have questions around today's talk. आप अपने questions को chat box में type करें. We will have Q&A for 15 minutes towards the end of the session. And it really feels good to see each one of you present here. So I request you all to turn on the videos if you can. Yes, Karan, over to you. And we would like to know more about you, Anushra, and your journey.
Yeah, so namaste everyone. So as the starting point has already been shared that my journey started with the curiosity. So even before Anushra, when connecting with nature and all, the initial thoughts why all this came in my life. So it was around in the second or third year of my college. So I was studying food processing, particularly. So I had this feeling from inside that something is not right. Back then I could not what is not. Am
Karan,
okay.
your voice is actually breaking.
Mute. So now is it okay?
Yeah, now it's better.
Yeah. So I was telling that all this started when I was in the second or third year of my college. So I was basically studying food technology, which is part of this dairy technology or the food processing. So I had this thought that something is not right, but I could not find what exactly is messed up around me, because the school is very ideal thing from the actual life, and college is a kind of platform which is a bridge between the protected environment which your parents give and actual the life after college. So luckily in the fourth year we had a 1 year in plant training in a commercial dairy. So we had to work as like workers or whatever was part of that curriculum. So that one whole year when I was spending in the dairy, I was fortunate that I could uh, interact with the workers, like the floor workers and the officers and the manager, plant manager, till the MD. So I always had this curiosity and the observation of human psychology. So I used to ask questions to them, like, are you happy with what you are doing? And like, the questions like, do you like what you do? And are you happy with your life and all that? One thing from all that, observations and questions, I found out two, three important things. That first thing is life is too short and like, there is no second chance. The second thing I found that family is a huge responsibility, and your daring or the ability to get out of your comfort zone decreases the more and more responsibilities you have, right? So whatever you have to do, it has to be now itself. Like it's not like you work for some years and take care of everything, and then you can fulfill your passion or whatever you want to do from your heart. So whatever you has to be done has to be today itself. So I knew that I could not go. Is the audio not clear?
Yeah, now it's better, but
Okay,
some two
so
minutes back it was not.
oh, fine. So I was telling that the thing I came up with is that I cannot join a corporate or I cannot join some organization and or go for higher studies because I felt the education system is way too biased and more on the logical side rather than the overall development of it. So I knew what I don't want to do, but I didn't know how I should, move further. And as you mentioned, that I had the curiosity to know how we get food directly from nature versus, going to supermarket stores. So I took a gap year and decided, and that was the time when farmer suicide was in the media. Like, it was so hyped up and like, it was, so I had that, let me, just go to the grassroots level and myself observe what's going on because I didn't trust the media and all that. And so that one year was like, I would just wake up if the farmers or the people in the farm are weeding, then I'll do weeding. If they are sowing, then I'll do sowing. I didn't tell them anything. I was just, being with them and observing what's happening and what are they experiencing, what are their challenges. So only one thing I didn't do is, spraying chemicals and, putting the chemical fertilizers. That job I didn't do. Rest everything, whatever they were doing, I would, just do. So then that one year was a kind of a 360-degree turn because so far we feel that the farmers' problems and the issues is like, maybe economic, it is maybe technical or it is political or this or that. But the real, the thing which I could understand, it is a mental problem. Like, years or maybe centuries of exploitation of farmers or the growers has made them lose all their hope. तो अब उनका हो गया है कि जो भी होना होगा अब तो मतलब यही चलेगा. Like, they have given the enthusiasm to now try something else. They've lost all the hope and they have accepted अभी जो होना वो होगा. So I realized that no amount of training programs or initiatives or this or that would actually help because it's a mental issue and it has addressed in a different way, not through just capacity building or giving training or giving them incentives. And then I had this my maternal uncle's farm, so in the same village where Anushka currently is. So he said that if you really want to do farming, this is the land you can do whatever you want to. So we had another family who has been taking care of the same land since my grandfather's time. Then I talked to them that okay, let's not use chemicals anymore. Let's try doing it the organic way because then it was just organic farming. And and because honestly, I was never a nature person. I've never planted a single tree in my life. So all this is not what I was initially. So I just talked to them that let's try this out. And they didn't negate because we were the landowners, but they were like, without putting this bag of urea or something, it will not grow. So I said, Tumara ho na ho na ho. Like, if you don't want to do, just get lost. I'll do it on my own. So that was the time I finally decided that, okay, if I really envision that we should grow our own food, then I have to do it by myself. I cannot rely on someone to, achieve this objective. So from that onwards, like, that became the primary objective. Like, learn and grow my own food. And then started very nicely because I did go to one organic farm for volunteering for a month, because everyone initially is bit they feel they don't have the skills, they don't have the knowledge, and they should learn first and then they should do this. But after a month I realized that no one can teach you, like because no matter how good the training program is or this is that whatever, but they will say your soil is different, your climate is different, this is different, so you'll have to figure out your own way. So finally, if everything has to be done on your own at your own land, then what's the point in going to some other farm and you know wasting your time, I would say, because that time if you put in your own land, then you are actually starting to build the ecosystem back. So then I came back. I then didn't see any of the technical and non-technical stuff. I just said that let me learn from nature. So even my uncle and all the people around me who have been doing this since many years or maybe their entire lifetime. So I said I want to grow pigeon peas. They say yeah, oh, that is possible. But then if I say I want to grow this, they say no, no, this does not grow here. It grows in that area of Gujarat, or this area we don't do this. That happens this that. I said leave it. We'll sow it. If it grows, will grow. If it does not, will not. So the first year itself, in spite of being zero in knowing what soil is, what this is, what that is, I could grow 50 plus different things, and it was almost the entire grocery of the year. So except very few things like potatoes, chilies, tomatoes, and brinjal, all the four very common things which I could not grow, everything, all the spices, oil seeds, and tubers and vegetables, because fruits don't grow initially. So all that I was successful to grow almost, except the pepper and the cinnamon and all that uh, spices which grow in very special regions. The fenugreek, coriander, and all that is very easy, fennel and all. So I learned that most of the things which we need year round we can grow, easily manage. So if I was complete zero and I could do it, so I feel it is not that critical. And now, if I see the journey back then and the way things grew, today, even after learning more and more, um, I feel the first year was the best. Like, the quality of things that grew, and, the seeds of first year still are there in the bottles and they don't have any pest in it. And the second, third year, there have been chances that few of the seeds have, I had to throw them away. So it's not that you need knowledge and skills to do something. It is if something comes from your heart, nature does help you to, accomplish that. So that was the first learning for me, that, you don't have to use too much of your brain and logic. Like, if you really feel you want to do this, you should do it. Like, no, there is no better day to do that than today. So first year was very, intensive, and, I learned a lot directly from nature. And so even today, when people ask that, I want to grow with what, I should do, I say, I don't know farming. You just give me the seeds and I can see the seeds and, make out how can I multiply them. So I have very, intuitive kind of thing of doing things. I don't have that, you sow at this thing and water and weed and harvest and all that data I don't have. You just give me the seeds and I know what to do with it. So that was the thing, first year, second year, and then uh, storage of food came into picture. That I'm growing a lot of things, and the modern, this iron drums which we usually nowadays use to store our grains, they get the pest very easily. So then I found out the reason, like, what's going wrong, and then it came to mind that there were earthen structures like kothars or kothis in Gujarati. So they were unbaked earth cylindrical structures, usually under the terraces of the old homes, and they would fill it in the season till the top, put a pot and seal it with mud, and only the bottom was kept to take out the grains. So outside air never entered directly into the structure, and so the grains were preserved for more than a year. Whereas now when we have this iron, this drums, we call it pipla in Gujarati. So what happens is every time you open, take out the grains and close it. So the more it empties, the more outside air is going, and it will have pests. That is common sense. And we feel that grains are not storing, like they are getting pests. So like we don't want to store food. We'll buy ready-made packet and every month and then do whatever. And so earthen construction is what I understood, that that is part of the system. You should know how to build at least that coaches with earth. And then again, you have this thing that you need to go somewhere and learn something. So I again went for a workshop, and again came, like, and when you are complete zero, you feel that that was so nice, so good. But when you actually start working on the ground, you know that it was time pass. Like, you didn't get the real skill because no one can teach you. You have to learn it for experience. So in natural building also, like, if you go and ask any villager that you want to do cow dung, plaster or flooring, he will say just make earth and cow dung and maybe some rice husk or something. And you ask that what is the proportion or recipe, and they'll say what recipe? Like, you just mix it and it happens. So I used to get very angry and like, these guys are like, kind of like, useless. They don't know anything. But today, if you also ask me that, I want to build this and, what should be the ratio, I'll also say the same. I can touch and now tell you that for this technique, this is perfect, this, that. I don't know all that ratios and anymore. So experiential learning is the best way. That is what I have, experienced time and again. That, yes, you need some expert advice, you need some guidance, but unless you don't do it with your own hands and your own senses, don't record as a observation, it's just piece of data. Like it's useless. The recipes and the techniques and the methods and the videos actually don't help you a lot. The what matters is what your first and experience with the materials and the techniques and whatever you want to do. So that way, then I explored earth, the different techniques of building houses and bamboo and all that, and it opened a whole new understanding because see the raw material, the soil or the earth is the same. The same soil is used for farming. The same soil is used to build your houses, and then later on the same soil will be used to grow your color and the pigments and then make pottery and whatever else. So the soil is same. It is the different means in which our forefathers understood that if you have to use the same material, then these are the strengths, limitations, and you have to work this way around to get your things done. So natural building opened that scope of understanding the same material in a different perspective. And then I built this experimental setup. So what happened is once the structure was ready, I love earthen walls and the flooring, but the color of soil is too brown, and I wanted something which lightens up my mood. So I say, and since it was a kitchen, I could not paint it with lime, white because it would get black. Then I figured out let me find some clay paint, which is from natural pigment, which lightens up the shade of the brown soil. And that's how I painted, the first setup of the experimental mud kitchen. So in on the Instagram, you have that reel how it looked after painting. And then this cyclone Tokte came, and I still it was an experimental setup, so there was no roof, and everything got washed away. So all that months of hard work was just going away in front of my eyes, and I could not do anything. So natural farming taught me patience, which I didn't have before. I came into this way of seeing life, and then natural building taught me to let go of my ego. Like nature is supreme. Like no matter how good or how knowledgeable and experienced or creative or whatever you are in front of nature, it's human ego is nothing. So natural building taught me that you have to uh, you know take nature as the supreme and human ego or human as the the secondary. We cannot overpower nature at any point of time. And since I started painting my walls, then slowly natural dyeing came into the picture. So earlier I had that खुद का खाना उगा लेंगे बस हो गया. That was when I was in college. That if you just grow your food, it's more than enough. But I fell off to
जनरल बहुत देश
the indoor air pollution and the impact on the planet, like and all that industrial materials. Then I came to know कि कपड़े भी हम तो प्लास्टिक के बनते हैं. And every wash of our clothes releases 9 billion microplastics in the wastewater. तो वो पानी तो सीधा खेत में जा रहा है, पानी से जा रहा है to till the ocean. So even our clothes are polluting, the planet, and also the skin is the largest organ of the body. So when you wear those chemical dyes and synthetic fibers, all that is going through the skin into your body. तो फिर ये तो एक और आ गया कि इतना कर लिया सोचा हो जाएगा लेकिन the journey is still incomplete. Um, like you have to find out a way, and then slowly you start to understand how from pre-industrial era to industrial era, and then the modern consumerism and all this is impacting everything, our own health, the health of the planet and everyone around us. So slowly you start to understand that just changing one thing, say education or this thing is not going to work. We have to see life as a whole, and all these things. And there are wonderful organizations. If you see, they have done wonderful work in natural farming, in urban construction, or in the field of education, healthcare. What I found missing is a platform or a place where we don't see all this as separate. Like now, everyone is just taking a trunk of elephant and saying that this is the elephant, or the tail. They have caught and they say this is that elephant. But no one is actually trying to bring everything together and see, no, this is the elephant as a whole. And so then I decided that Anushka cannot be some organization or some entity or something. It has to be a blank platform where we talk about life as a whole and not just different fragments and streams of it. And so Roti Kapda Makan hua. Like, I was successful in growing the food, building my structure, and making my own clothes and wearing it. But still I found something is missing. Like, and the most important was the health. Because we it's not that you start living on the farm and eat good food, you will not fall sick. Because the root cause of disease is psychosomatic. It all starts with your mind. So, and the climate and the nature, affects our human body even if you are not sick. So, suppose say simple thing like a fever. So nowadays we have paracetamol, the standard. Like, anyone has a fever, you just give it, it goes away. But when you read Charak Samhita and the Ayurveda wisdom, like, what jwar is. So there are 8 or 9 types of jwar because fever is the byproduct. Some other locha is there in the system. So there are different protocols for all the types. It's not just one, herb or something is curing you out. So then you start to understand that you have to know what human body is, how the systems work, how they are aligned with nature, and how you can keep yourself healthy. So Ayurveda, when I everyone has that Ayurveda is like some herbs, decoctions, and recipes, and some healing techniques or whatever. But Ayurveda, when I read it, the Charak Samhita twice, like reading once is never sufficient. Like our scriptures, you have to keep on reading. Still, you will find that, oh, I didn't read this before. So Ayurveda has two objectives. The primary objective of Ayurveda is not to, treat some disease. The first objective is to maintain the state of health. तो हमारा आयुर्वेद का ऑब्जेक्टिव है ही नहीं कि बीमार को ठीक करना है. आयुर्वेद चाहता है कि हम बीमार ही ना पड़े. But since I said that the cause of disease is psychosomatic and the forces of nature do influence our body, so the second objective is that in case we get sick, how do we restore the state of health back? Okay. So the most interesting thing about Ayurveda and especially the Charak Samhita, the Sutrastan, so if you read just the first part of Charak Samhita, the Sutrastan, there is no recipe of any medicine. It is just about life, like no how humans should live a good life, a long and a healthy life. So the most, surprising and connecting thing was I would never expect any medical or a medicine text to talk about this. That in the Dincharya they say that we wake up and there is a list of activity you have to do every day. The most interesting is they say you should wear good looking clean clothes after bathing. You should wear flowers and ornaments and gems, and to protect your feet you should wear shoes. So this we can still relate that wearing good clothes and all. But then they say that danda dharan, like you should keep a stick with you when you are walking out, so that it gives you self confidence and you are not fearing of anyone. And then they say you do the chhatra dharan, like you should keep an umbrella to protect yourself from the sun and the wind and the nature's this thing. So I was like mesmerized, like how far and how deep our forefathers have thought. Like because I expected Ayurveda just like everyone thinks that it must be about some herbs and healing, but no, it was about living a very good life. And so I understood that just food, clothing, shelter is just one part. It is the very core, basic survival need. But we have to move ahead, just like Maslow's law of hierarchy says that your needs change based on the level of consciousness. So, like healthcare or knowing what the human body is and how to keep it healthy is equally important. And then I am not biased that only Ayurveda is good. Even allopathy has its own pros and cons. Ayurveda also has its own limitations, and this thing, the very wonderful points. And one thing which I would highlight about Ayurveda is people feel it's too slow and this and that. You have emergency medical treatment in Ayurveda as well. There are certain herbs. If you go to a pure Vaidya who is just doing Ayurveda, he can heal you, even the emergency cases. It's just that people go after roaming all the other allopathic doctors at the last time, because even in Ayurveda we have stages of the disease. So initially, any disease is very easy to cure. As you delay the treatment, any disease will change into a state where you cannot cure it through the herb, through the procedures of Ayurveda. So people usually go in the last resort and then it becomes too difficult. Otherwise, emergency medical is also very much part of Ayurveda. So it's not that it is very slow and only allopathy work. Having said that, all the techniques, so I always say that integrative approach is the best. You cannot just rely on one stream of knowledge. Everything is, you have to use things based on what the need of the other is. And so you now have the overall understanding about yourself and the things around you. And now we see that the planet is in like we say that nature, we have damaged it, we have degraded the ecosystems, we have done this, we have done that. But one thing I've slowly realized that nature has its own cycle. Okay. So if there is a forest fire somewhere, it is nature's will, because nature knows when to start a fire and it also knows how to stop the fire. So one thing I'm slowly understanding is, yes, it's a good thing that we humans are consciously trying to, not cut trees anymore, not to pollute it anymore. But like, it would be very ignorant to say that we want to save nature, we want to save the ecosystem, we want to save the planet. Okay, nature has been before us since billions of years, and it will be after us also. We are nothing but just soil. So yes, we have to work towards conserving it, but not as a doer that we are protecting the forest. So this way I differ a bit from the people who are working on the ground, that we have to let nature act through us. Like, no, we cannot be the doers and we are planting forest, we are growing this and that. It is nature's will, and we are the medium through which it is getting carried. So when we see all this happening around us, the question comes that how did things get messed up? Because our forefathers lived wonderfully. Like, actually there is no word like sustainable in our local languages, because the lifestyle was by default so. So we didn't need a word to describe what sustainability is. So उनको तो सब ठीक था. How we deviated. So one common thing which can solve all this mess in the way we grow food, the way we live, we work, we wear clothes, and we do all these things, lies in the education. So the education system is something which I say that in any civilization or culture, if basic things like education and healthcare is commercialized, that marks the downfall of that civilization. अगर हम शिक्षा और स्वास्थ्य जैसी प्राथमिक चीजों का व्यापारीकरण कर दे, तो दैट मीन्स कि वो सभ्यता का विनाश अपने आप ही हो जाएगा. Because you see, we say some doctors, like, you enter their hospitals and they'll make a bill of 4-5 thousand, like, even if there is nothing. We say that they just print money, but we never see that, and we never ask that how many lakhs that parents of that doctor must have put to get that degree. And that is not sufficient, then you need crores of rupees to set up a hospital so that he can recover that initial lakhs. So if the society wants that good healthcare and good education should be available to the citizens, then the society itself should fund the education. If you if you educate a kid without bothering for the financial, he will definitely care for the society. Now he is already in a debt. How can we expect not just a doctor but any other profession to, like, do some good work for the society and for the nature and for the planet? So I realized that education has the power for the next generation, because I don't have much hope with my friends and most of the people of my age, because they have already decided, they have their own reasons that okay, we cannot do this, we cannot do that, we have this challenges and priorities and whatnot. But the kids of
Karan, uh, Karan, I would like to just ask
yeah,
one question.
yes,
You have gathered a lot of wisdom and so many things. So, and you are saying that education has the power to bring the change. So,
hmm,
how are you doing it uh, for the people outside your farm? And how are
hmm,
you connecting with people? One way is आज आप हमसे जुड़े हैं और हम
hmm,
आपकी बात सुन पा रहे हैं और वो जो हेल्थ भी आपने बोला बहुत अच्छा लगा मुझे कि वो
hmm,
रोटी कपड़ा मकान तो बेसिक है पर वो हेल्थ इज ऑल्सो वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट। और
Hmm.
तो आपने जो इतना विजडम कलेक्ट किया है और इतनी
Hmm.
अच्छी चीजें आप कर रहे हैं, तो आप इसको बाहर कैसे लेके जा रहे हैं?
Right.
आपका
So
जो भी विजडम है, क्योंकि जो भी हमारे यहाँ लोग हैं, दे आर ऑल एजुकेटर्स, प्रिंसिपल्स, टीचर्स, सो दे वुड
right.
रियली लाइक टू नो दैट। थैंक यू।
Sure. तो फाइनली आई अंडरस्टूड कि मैं खाली फार्मिंग या इस पे काम नहीं कर सकता, कि ये सारी चीज एक दूसरे से ऐसे जुड़ी हुई है कि तुम एक की बात करके बाकी को नहीं छोड़ सकते। तो अनुश्रव को देन आई एनविजन कि एक प्लेटफॉर्म बनता है आपके और मेरे जैसे लोगों को मिलने के लिए, क्योंकि सॉल्यूशंस है ही, वी हैव द वे टू लिव सस्टेनेबली। द क्वेश्चन इज कि हम आज के लोगों के पास उसको कैसे लेके जाए, क्योंकि पहले का जो स्टाइल था 100% वी कैन नॉट गो बैक टू दैट। हमें आज के लोगों के हिसाब से, एंड वो जनरेशनल शिफ्ट है। अभी मेरे पेरेंट्स को बोलोगे कि ऐसे पढ़ाना है बच्चों को, लाइक नो दे विल नॉट अंडरस्टैंड। आई कैन डू दिट विद माई किड कि चलो हम ऐसे नहीं ऐसे करते। So in Anushrav, it's kind of now a hub of tried and tested things about all these things which I'm talking about. And then there are different levels in which people want information. कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं कि उनको सिर्फ रेसिपी चाहिए, टेक्निक चाहिए, बस उनका हो गया। Because even in our shastras it's written, it's very concise. If you read any, even this Ayurveda Charak Samhita, they've written that it is just concise. For average student, that much if he knows, he can live a good life. Those who are more intelligent, it is sufficient for them to expand. And those who are extraordinary, for them also that much information is more than enough to complete the entire description. So for Anushka also, we have the knowledge, but different kinds of formats are needed to pass it on. Okay, we want to have a module of training the trainer. So we directly cannot go to the length and breadth of the planet. So firstly, we want to engage with those who are already in the field of teaching and education, so that we update them with our knowledge and the expertise that we have. Second thing is, there are certain cases where they don't have the resources. We say that you please come and do it for us, and we'll just continue. The format which we want is that we give end-to-end help to just complete this live learn.
योर वॉइस इज
करण,
ब्रेकिंग।
आपकी आवाज थोड़ी सी सही नहीं आ रही है।
ओके, अभी ठीक है? अभी आवाज आ रही है थोड़ी कि और ब्रेक हो रही है? हेलो,
अभी थोड़ी सी ठीक है। नाउ इट्स लिटिल बेटर।
ठीक है। तो मैं ये कह रहा था कि अलग अलग तरीके से नॉलेज को देना पड़ता है। सबको हम बोलेंगे कि हम ऐसे ही सिखाते हैं तो इट वोंट वर्क। तो एक तो है कि जो ऑलरेडी सिखा रहे हैं वो हम उनको ट्रेनिंग ऑफ द ट्रेनर्स काइंड ऑफ एक फॉर्मेट हो। दूसरा है कि कुछ लोग चाहते हैं कि आप करके दे दो, वी डोंट हैव दैट काइंड ऑफ कैपेसिटी, रिसोर्सेज का हो, मैन पावर का हो या जो भी हो, तो वी कैन गिव देम एंड टू एंड काइंड ऑफ हेल्प और अ काइंड ऑफ कंसल्टेंसी कि वो पूरा एक सिस्टम वर्किंग दे हैव, so that they can do this work ahead. And then third type of people are they themselves want to do it and apply in their own life. So we are working for this three kinds of parallel and for different age groups, because learning is not just for everyone till the end of our life. We have to continuously keep on unlearning and learning and understanding things. So we are trying to make modules and format, and very soon we will be putting it out. So based on the priorities and the expectations of the opposite person, we can customize and find a solution based on what all they want to include in their existing work. Yeah, I hope this
what
answers.
is the target, target people? They are the students of the schools or community around, or what?
So the
And-
target audience, I feel there are 4 5 kinds of audience. The primary, our main focus would be the this children of the schools and colleges, because we have to reach to the grassroots level. Okay, so that is the first kind of thing. But also there is another parallel of people like me who want to shift from corporate to back to sustainable way of living. So they are also equally needing of this information and the skills and all this. So it is not just for kids or those who are in the still not in the professional life, for them. And the third is people like artists and like the educators and all that, who may feel that they want to integrate this in, say, architects and designers and all those kind of people who may feel that our work can add value to their work or make it more sustainable and circular. Yeah.
Thank you, Karan.
Okay. So this is how finally. So in Anushrav, I got this roti kapda makan. That is the food and agriculture. Second is the construction, and the third is the textile. So these three are the core survival needs. But you also need education, healthcare, the two more complementing things. And the third thing or the sixth thing which usually is left out is arts and crafts. Like, when I came to know about natural dyeing and chemical dyes, I thought, like, it's a huge impact, because even if you are using natural dyes, we still waste a lot of water to wash the fabric and make it good. So I thought we should wear unbleached, undyed clothes, like, that is the best way if you really want to cover your body. But then I realized that color is a psychological need. Art is a psychological need. We need that expression. Like, without art, life is incomplete. So then I realized that we cannot separate all survival and core things from art. So, Anushka cannot focus on this three complementing, sectors. So we feel that the life is complete as of now, but if tomorrow we understand that, there is something else, we may add it. So we don't have a very rigid thing कि हम यही है. Like, we want to stay, undefined, uncategorized, and just find, like, we always believe that there is something more to learn at each point of time. So I feel this is more about my journey and what Anushrav is. And it's basically a platform where people like us can connect, we collaborate, and we find ways which actually work. And usually what happens is we have very idealistic people who live very nicely, but the work-life balance is all, like, unbalanced. Or there are people who just keep on earning, 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 but that this part, personal life and all this is imbalanced. So in Anushrav, it is like living and working together. Like, you have to earn well, you have to take care of your family, but without damaging the planet. So, and there is no one answer and no one size fits all. So this is kind of platform where we find solutions that work, but not just to save planet or, like, do good things, but also to take care of our family responsibilities and our personal goals and aspirations. So it's kind of a holistic way of looking at things. So I feel, in few lines, if I have to tell Anushka, it is this. Yeah.
Yeah, Karan, it's wonderful to know about your journey and about Anushra. It's really wonderful. When we were talking, I mean, when I was watching your Instagram page, there
Hmm.
was something on natural ink.
Right. Right. Yes.
I saw some pictures and some videos. Can you please share about the natural ink, making natural ink, and how it is useful, and how we can encourage people to use the handmade papers and ink and all that?
So one thing, the way I said, no, that the kids, we want to reach out to the kids. So one of the things we are working upon is that the stationery is made by the kids themselves. Because when I was a kid, my mom used to get angry when I used to tear papers and throw them away. And I was like, what, like, why is she so like this to me? She was worried that I'm wasting, and indirectly she was hinting at the economic cost. But now I feel more than economic, it is ecological cost. So if I knew that how much hard work it takes to grow the fibers and make the paper, I would not tear a small corner of a page of my book. So what we really want is that the kids make their own paper, their own ink, and their own brushes and everything. And so they value the importance of things. So the ink making is actually a small part of the whole thing which we want to, so this is how you connect kids with nature. You cannot just tell that, earth is good, water is like this, you have to save a tree, you have to do this. You have to connect them in the way they love to, listen to you. So ink making, if we see in the Indian context, so that ink which I've made is the European ink, and it was the standard ink in the medieval ages in Europe, and till the 20th century, it was used in the official documents as well. So it is basically combination of tannin in the plant plus iron, which makes it waterproof. The ink, that experience I didn't know all the technicalities. My all learnings is intuitive based on nature. So I was just mixing and making, and then later on I realized that what I've made was the standard, ink which was used officially for centuries. So it is technically a tannin iron ink or a walnut ink or whatever you want to say. And that ink can be used on paper, it can be used on fabric, like to print, to write, and whatever. And the best part is you can make it out of food waste as well and construction waste. So this is
Very
how
nice.
connect kids back to all these issues without making them feel, like guilty. Like, it is a fun way to connect them back to nature without them knowing that, we are trying to force them to take care of nature. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Karan. Thank you very much. So we can, if audience has any questions, we can take a question answer round now.
And since I wanted to show my studio, so I
Yeah,
think till the time
Yeah,
people are,
please
yeah,
do.
we can just show them around. So just
yes.
give me a, I'll,
There is one question already in the chat box.
Yeah, we
okay.
have a question in the chat box.
Yeah. Can someone read it out?
Oh, yes. Uh, this is, dear sir, Sri Lanka is the best example of adverse impact on reduced yield through organic agriculture. So, use of pesticides and fertilizers is not a luxury, but a compulsion to meet the food needs of a growing population. How will you balance this discrepancy?
So this thing, no, this is what a one-sided view is that. So this,
Karan, can we first see your farm and then you can answer the question? Let us
oh,
concentrate and you can, focus on whatever specialities and things you are showing.
right,
That will be
right.
very nice. Yeah. Yeah.
We have
Let's first
time,
see the
some
form.
time. Yeah, okay. So this structure which you see, the center part, is the fire stuff, and that was the only thing I intended to build back then when I was exploring natural building. So I grew my own sugarcane. I wanted to make jaggery, and our modern gas stoves cannot have that big vessels of iron to boil the juice down. So the fire stuff was designed in a way that here, so this was the firing chamber. Here is where beneath the sheet I could put a very big iron vessel. Okay, and then I had this three small kind of things to cook every day, curries and dals and this. So this much was the only structure. This much was the only thing that I built in the first go. And then as I started using the space, I realized that you need a kitchen counter, and that is how I built this thing. So it is very interesting that it is just mud and bamboo. So there is no steel, there is no cement, there is no stone, and it is there since 2 years. And I can even climb from here and put whatever I want to do on the roof. So that is the technique of making a ceiling slab, and I have modified to make this platform. So if you see, I'll share all the things that are lying around. So this place now is more for the dyeing studio and making ink. So all the things that you see are critical if you want to make professional inks, like good quality, like saucepans. And so this is the jaggery which I've made from my own sugarcane. Yeah, it's this much is left out of last year's produce, and this is how the space. So you also need a gas stove when you make inks because the temperature has to be controlled. And yeah, when you do a lot of things, you burn it off. So I had to put a gas stove just for the ink making. And then I said that earth is the best material to store food. So then I tried to make this experimental setup where the earthen pots were embedded to make a wall, kind of a storage unit, and check whether we can use this in modern houses. And yeah, in the Instagram, you can see the inside details of it. Now it is, covered by another the structure. And this is the latest addition, this wall, this shelf. So these shells actually have the waste tiles. Like, usually they have the sample pieces which people throw away. So the shells are made of that, because here I could not use wood or bamboo or something, because the termites would eat away. And I didn't want to use stone because that also adds an impact to the, during the mining. So I wanted to use something that is waste, but it does not look like, you have just foraged from the junk store and, you have made something. So this is all made out of tiles, and then you have all the supplies that are needed for the, like, putting all your everyday essentials. And the black ink you mentioned, I will show the pictures of how the natural colors look. Like, if you use natural ink, so I'll show the sketchbook, which is kind of, a sample for the, 1 second. Yeah. So the first page, I intentionally used the chemical black, which you get from the, stationery stores, this one. And you can see it is too bland and monotonous. But the moment you shift to natural, you see there is so much of depth and character. Like, it is not just black. You have, shades and shades of it. So this is that black ink which I was talking about. And then I tried different techniques. This is the Brahmi script, this one. Like now we are using the Devanagari script, but because before that, Sanskrit was also written. So all the Ashoka scriptures, like this rock edicts and all, this is Sanskrit. And this is Arabic, this is Japanese. So I was checking how the ink behaves for different languages, and so far it has been wonderful. And I also try to write in Devanagari and see. And this ink is waterproof, so like, to create the manuscripts and have them is a good thing. Yeah, I'll show the clothes soon. So this is a painting which is made from that same ink. So you can print, you can write, you can paint, and these are the shades. You have anything right from brown to the very dark charcoal black from the same recipe. If you can control the micro variables, it is very much possible. And this is from the Palash, Kesuda flowers or Butea monosperma, and this is indigo blue. So these are all natural colors and the same inks in different formats. And this is mixture of red soil, which we call Geru. And I'll show you one last artwork. Okay. So this is mixture of, and this is the black. You have the Palash and indigo, four colors. And this is the local berries, the wild berries, and you have mulberries. And this is how I keep on finding the wild colors, like, forest around us. Okay. So
This really beautiful.
now I'll show you some of the natural dyed pieces. So the first one here, it's made out of red soil. The source of color is a mineral, not some plant material. Here the second one on the top is indigo. The blue is indigo, and the top is herda. Herda is kind of a, if you know trifla, then herda is one of the ingredient in that. So it gives you tannin. And the same thing when dipped in madder. Madder is a root. It gives you this pinkish shade. And then I made this black ink, no? So that on paper is like jet black, and on a fabric, it can give you this grayish black. The same on a different medium. And then this bag is dyed with marigold flowers, and this is another tie-dye effect using red soil. So I love to use that red soil because it is, I feel it is still better than using plant materials, because the more you take from nature, because every flower and fruit and leaf has some contribution to the ecosystem. So the less you take, the more you are, contributing towards the revival or regenerative process. So, and this is another technique of shibori, where the black and the red soil are used together. So these are the pieces which I use as bed sheets, and this is a sleeping bag actually for me. And this is another sleeping bag for the summers. And I'll show you the clothes that I have dyed. So all these four pieces are from the same source. Like Kesuda से ही है, but if you closely look, the shades are different. So the way you prepare the fabric will determine the final color, though the raw material is the same. So these are the shades, and there is one more thing which I can show is this apron. So this apron has the logo of Anushra, and again it is the same black ink which we can use on paper, and I've printed the logo. So it is a really multi-purpose kind of thing. If you have that, you can do most of the things without using chemicals and all that. And another thing which I love is in Anushra is we have the old and the new together. So like we are not loyal to one thing. The only thing which is true to our heart is caring for the planet and not degrading it to our work. So we always keep a combination of things like the best material for the purpose. And here are the things
करण
we
आपका कैमरा उल्टा हो गया है थोड़ा सा.
Yes,
okay,
please.
wait. Now is it right?
Yeah, this is
Yes.
all right.
So this is what we foraged yesterday from outside the farm boundaries. So this is the seed pods of the bubble tree. This is another wild plant, and then these are the berries. So I keep on finding this specifically for the kids. So I don't want them to order something from some store and then make ink, but I want them to forage for things around them and then do this.
What
Is
will
the
you do with the babool seeds?
So that is part of my research on the local sources of dyes. So मैंने हर्डा वाला जो बोला ना, हर्डा is the
अच्छा,
Ayurvedic.
हाँ, डाई बनाएंगे इससे.
हाँ, so I want to avoid using herda because it's a medicine. So I am finding alternatives. Like if we have some other thing which can do part of that job. So the
क्या
stress
कलर
is
निकलेगा? What color are you expecting from this?
nature knows. Nature knows. It's I
Okay,
don't
okay. So you will be doing it. अभी आपने किया नहीं है, पर आप इसको करोगे. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So my work, I don't put it out unless it's experientially documented. So I have to do the testing and the research properly before I can, put it out whether it works or not. So it is just forage. And I also do this. This is another thing which is Manila tamarind. We call it Gora Assembly. And this is also the first time someone, or maybe I am trying to see whether it has color or not. So this is all taken from the soil. Whatever we forage, we never take directly from the plant because flower is for the bees and not for the humans. So we try to collect things which have already solved the purpose of nature, and then we try to use it. And this onion skins also give you wonderful color on fabrics and paper boards. So I'll share that on Instagram soon what shades we get from onion skins. And uh, yeah, so this table which you see is another example of upcycling. So this two sides, the wooden cabinets which you see, this and this that I got from the junk store, and the top sheet is actually a mixture of three plywood which I got, lying around, like they were throwing it out, and I filled it with soil, and in the top it has the lime plaster. So that way it does not look from a distance that it is all foraged and brought together. So I like to reuse things, but it should still look aesthetically pleasing. So that is the main way. And this is the part of the farm. And this is again, okay, I'll show you one more thing which I have made is this bamboo bed. So when we use bamboo as a construction material, it has some limitations, and there are certain things to take care. But for furniture, I found it amazing. Like this bed is 100% bamboo. There is no fevicol, no nail used in it. So it is just bamboo with the jute thread to just tie the strip on the surface, and it's there since two plus years, and nothing has happened to it. And one more thing which you might have seen is this bamboo, this thing,
Ladder.
and the ladder. And this is the latest addition which I made is a tripod out of bamboo, and the other part, the stick part, is in my hand. So bamboo actually, if understood and used in the right way, is a wonderful material. I hope I'll just do a 360-degree of the studio
Yeah.
before we can proceed. So
So you use what kind of solvents you use for taking out the pigment from the plant material?
we don't use solvents, we just use water. Most
Okay.
of the dyes do well with water. Only one or two things they preferably need some solvent, but we avoid. Like we would not use that material than to use some chemical solvents. Because one thing is very easy to tell that industries are polluting. But if we don't use the materials which the industries are making, then there is no issue at all. So unless we don't stop buying things which we know is not good, then there is no solution at all. So if there is some solvent or some material that is needed, we'll simply not use that material rather than to
So when you are using water and when the material is soluble in water, so
hmm.
then after washing, what about the pigment? It will
So you are
gradually fade away, or the color remains the same?
are you asking for paper or fabric? Because it differs a lot based on the
Uh,
medium.
fabric.
Okay. So fabric, no, nowadays when you talk about natural dyeing, people say that it fades away and it is not good fastness and this and that. I personally feel that we are not following the traditional recipes and the slow method of doing it. And
Okay.
I've already found that the Indian dyers use a lot of dye materials and metal mordants in excess. Western dyers are still so judicious and conscious of how much percentages of materials they use. And still they get wonderful results than us because we are trying to rush the process and just substitute chemicals with natural rather than understanding the entire importance of the impact of even taking natural sources of color from
Mm.
the soil. Like it's not that you just take natural and keep on producing tons of or like hundreds of meters of cloth and it's sustainable. Like it's not like that. So what so I had chance to learn from a professor who does ikat dyeing. So she said that we are not doing natural dyeing in the right way because in the museums, no, you do restoration of the old textiles. So since she is an expert in madder dyeing, she said that the red which the original piece had during restoration we could match the same shade, the today's recipes and the techniques, but it faded away faster than the other part. That shows that we are rushing the process. The fabric needs time to take the color and give you good fastness. So what you are asking about is not because natural dyes are like that. It is more about the process which is used to get the colors. You can get the same shade with two different methods, but based on how properly the fabric has been treated beforehand will influence the fastness which you are talking about. So preparing the fabric is far more important, and just selecting the color is, I feel, the least important part of the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Thank you very much, Karan.
so that question about Sri Lankan agriculture and this and that. So while
Mhm.
talking about journey, I forgot to tell, forgot or I intentionally skipped because I thought we'll run out of time. So now I'll take more time to talk about this thing regarding, because see, I was zero in farming. I didn't know anything. And the first thing I would share is that I made this beds of 20 feet by 5 feet. So it's like 100 square feet, bed, and everything is planted. Wheat, rice, this, that, everything next to each other. Though it's very immature and technically incorrect to just extrapolate and say, but my results on that small piece, if you multiply with the entire acre or hectare, the yields were never less than the existing. Okay, that was my own personal experience. Second thing which I want to add is that when you read the standards of organic farming, like NPOP and FPS, I feel like laughing. So if say someday I'm feeling low and I want to just have some joke, I would read those standards because they are so ridiculous in the way that they talk about this and then they again come back to that in a different way. So organic farming is a hyper commercial form of natural farming. It's like you just change the clothes and the rest remains the same. So how do I say it? Organic farming does not use chemicals, which the conventional is using. But just not using chemicals is not the only part which is messed up. It is the way we grow just one crop in lots and lots land, like monoculture which we say. Then we have to also food. Like how can I say that farming is not a profession. Farming like those who really understand this way, they say that खेती धंधा नहीं है, वो धर्म है. Like farming is a way of life. It can sustain you, but if you use it as a business, like money making machine, then organic farming is the solution for it. So organic farming gives less yield. For me, practically, I've never seen, but yeah, maybe it can have the thing because you have to understand the soil, this, that, whatever, whatever. But I would ask just one question that, if before coming of the chemicals, everything was perfectly fine and the yields and everything was there. Now we have shifted not just the chemicals, but everything else. The seeds are tempered and, the climate is changing everything. And just blaming that not using chemicals, we will not be able to grow food. I feel it is a very, one-sided way of looking at the whole picture. And second thing I'll say that even if like अगर जीने का ही सवाल है and खाना चाहिए ही, so then have medicines and pills, no, because what's the point of growing food with chemicals which is a poison? तो मरना तो है ही पहले या बाद में, तो पहले ही मर जाते हैं, like that way. So I say that you buy organic food, you buy naturally grown food, whatever, it's still not food if you don't have first an experience. If you don't have the connection with the food that is on your plate, it is not food, it is just calories. फिर वो chemical से उगा हो, organic brand का हो या खुद से उगाया हो, you should have the first hand connection because it's not just about using or not using chemicals. And Sri Lanka's case is not just about farming. It is a multi-complicated situation, and all the blame went on to just one thing. It is one factor of the whole, but then they found a scapegoat in the name of organic shifting. And yeah, this issue is very much important because even Sikkim was the first Indian state which was officially organic. And I was reading a report by NABARD like few years back, and it said that on paper we have just stopped the supply of chemicals in the state, and it has become organic or whatever they want to call. But the farmers at the grassroots level are still struggling with making the organic inputs and the seeds and this and that. So the problem is not about shifting and doing this and that. The problem is that we have to work on the soil directly and not just think in the air and make big statements. And just overnight shift is always like this. It is a gradual thing, and you have to gradually shift from one to two rather than making a deadline that this day we will stop this and we'll do this. So even I have two farms. The first is where Anusha is. Now it's completely natural. The other farm, I just started converting it into the natural since last year. So even I am not just, making a decision कि चलो आज से ये बंद करके कल से शुरू करते हैं. Because the people who work in the farm, everyone needs time to adjust and, adapt and learn. रातों रात करेंगे तो even worse can happen. So educating and awareing is more important, and also working first and experience in the soil rather than just talking and, making big announcements. Yeah.
So as we are, living in a city and we have, few pots in the courtyard or whatever. So as you said that let's have connection with the food. So what do you suggest? How do we do it with our children in the school so that
Yeah.
they have, some, gratitude for the grower and of course some relation with the food?
So one thing, usually schools have the boundaries and the places where there is still open space. Okay. So the thing which I want to emphasize is for me, like, if you ask me that, what farming is or what, this thing is, so I'd like to add a different perspective because everyone feels that farming is labor intensive and for the fools or uneducated people and all that, whatever. But we have not seen farming as a core because the ancient India also had trade. It was very prosperous and agriculture was the backbone of it. But still, we didn't have this mess today that, we have the question how to feed this much people and how do we have the connection and this and that. So I would say that farming is the only profession. Okay. So you have a business, you have to go and open the shop or open your factory and sit, then you will earn. If you are doing a job, you have to go to the office, sit on the desk, and then you will get, your salary or money, whatever. Only in farming it is nature does all the work. You actually don't do it, and still it can sustain you. So farming may, even if you don't do nothing, still nature will make sure you are not starving. Okay. So farming is the only profession which gives you this freedom, right? Even if you do ecological restoration, you do ecological conservation, wildlife, this, that, you will stay away from your family for some time, you will have to come back. But in farming, 24 by 7 by 365, you stay with your family. So ये जो intangible, the things associated with farming is never talked about. And it's not just about finances and the family. We have these games. Usually, I remember in the newspaper in the Saturdays, this kids kind of thing. You have two pictures and you have to spot the differences. And they say it's good for the brain. So when you do a simple activity as weeding, so all the plants in the initial stages, when there are just 2 or 4 leaves, they look alike. What you have sown and what nature has grown, and it is very difficult to differentiate. And also the same plant in different areas based on the shade and water and this and that, they will look different. So here you have to compare each plant with each other thing, the shade of the leaves, the shape, this, that. So it is a very complex brain activity that is going on. It's not a physical activity of just, taking out the unwanted plants. So when we say that we want to grow food for the kids or this or that, we have to make sure we make them understand the entire essence. How that's why I said farming is dharma and not dhanda. Like this is another way of looking at growing food and living and connecting with nature. क्योंकि फार्मिंग में ही उतनी क्षमता है कि हम प्रकृति से हर क्षण जुड़ सके। बाकी सारे प्रोफेशंस में तुम अलग हो और फिर जब तुम काम नहीं कर रहे हो तब तुम जुड़ रहे हो। तो फार्मिंग व्हेन वी से वी वांट टू टीच, वी हैव टू मेक श्योर कि ये सारा एसेंस, द थिंग इज डिजाइंड and the thing, and it should be on a regular basis. Usually what happens is institutes and schools want कि कहीं visit करा के ये दिखाए वो दिखाए, but I said no, experiential learning is the best. So if you want to really teach kids, it has to be a regular affair. You cannot just have it कि चलो once in a while you just do it, you see what a brinjal is, what that is, वो चला जाएगा, उनके memory में नहीं जाएगा. So we have to design it. It has to be a regular affair. Just like every day you come and you have your lectures, you should go and visit, like what's happening, which bee is coming to pollinate it, which pest is attacking it, no, what days from sowing has it first flowered. You understand? So it is not just about having a space and putting some seeds and harvesting it. We have to connect them to the entire ecology through that same thing. So in Anushra, if you bring any kid to me and say that, yes, Kuldeep, और you say कि इस बच्चे को ये फिजिक्स नहीं आता, ट्रिग्नोमेट्री, ये वो, फार्मिंग में you can teach any subject, any topic to the kid. That is the power of growing food. तुम उसको फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, बायोलॉजी, आर्ट, क्राफ्ट जो भी सिखाना चाहते हो, it is very much possible through farming. So for me, I would suggest that that should be the core subject, and all the things which we have to teach are in the context of growing food, or in the context of being with the plants, and it's not just about farming. We have to teach them about insects, the birds, the planet, this animals and everything, because plants don't live in isolation. It's the entire system of microbes and plants, animals and everything. So growing food is just a medium. उसको हमें पूरा रोटी कपड़ा मकान जो मैंने अपना सिखाया वो पूरा उनको भी दिखाना पड़ेगा. Then I feel it would be wonderful. Yeah.
Kuldeep ji has
Thank
raised the hand. Netra?
Yeah. कुलदीप जी आप पूछ सकते हैं अपना क्वेश्चन.
Yeah, very good evening, Mr. Karan. I am very much influenced the way you have envisaged this vision. Really remarkable. It is going to be the Gurukul-based education for the education system. And if you go in pre-Vedic period, and even the student coming from all economic strata, even the sons of the king, they were allowed to live in the Gurukul, and where the teacher used to teach them how to coexist with the nature and how to pay gratitude and compassion towards Mother Nature. So this thing you are trying to replicate among the students, so it's really appreciable. I asked that question, I come back again, that if you talk in context of the Sri Lanka, they emphasized upon the organic farming, and ultimately what happened, that particular resulted, everybody knows. So this use of the chemical fertilizers is the compulsion. And if we recall the Green Revolution, and we cannot forget the Green Revolution, it emphasized upon the hybrid seeds and chemical fertilizers. And the need was that because we were 36 crore people, Indians, at the time of the freedom in 1947. Now we have multiplied up to in an exponential growth of 150 million. So can you relate, can you develop some curriculum? It is my humble advice, being the principal of the Directorate of Education. Can you develop some curriculum where we can sensitize the children that how nature can serve our need if our population remains under control?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So we can give dual message to the children that the exponentially growing population forced us the use of the chemicals. So if the population remains under control, means where the nature is sufficient to fulfill our needs. Thank you.
So I really appreciate that you understand how important it is to pass it on to the kids of today, because they will need this information the most. So before I put this into perspective, when you mentioned about Gurukulam, this I wanted to add in the talk is, see, the Gurukulam was a wonderful concept, and today also we have certain schools which say that they are trying to this thing. But in Anushrav, I have a bit different benchmark, because if you see the word Gurukulam means the kul of Guru, and Guru word is made up of two words, Gu and Ru. So Gu का मतलब है कि अंधकार and Ru का मतलब है प्रकाश. तो गुरु यानी कि वो कि जो अज्ञान के अंधकार को मिटा के ज्ञान का प्रकाश प्रज्वलित करे. तो इनडायरेक्टली गुरु वो होता है जो एक सेल्फ रियलाइज मास्टर है, क्योंकि जैसे कि आज हमें कश्मीर जाना है मुझे, ठीक है, और मेरे पास 10 लोग हैं, कोई मुंबई तक गया है, कोई कलकत्ता तक गया है, कोई कन्याकुमारी तक गया है, कोई दिल्ली तक भी गया है. But if I ask them that I want to go to Kashmir, do you feel that they will be the best person to guide me through? No, only the person who has gone to Kashmir and come back can actually help us in understanding how to do things. So earlier the Gurukuls worked well because the person who was the main in charge was a self-realized master. So and because this is a customized thing, no, all kids will understand the same thing in a different way. So unless the instructor himself has a broad, the entire scene in his front, then he can direct the learning in the right way. So Gurukulam for me, I would personally, it's one of the objectives of Anushrav to revive it. But in today's time, to think about finding a self-realized master would be like a big, I would love to even think that we have such people, because I don't know whether they are there or not, but it is very difficult to find an authentic master. And then if we have such person, then for the length and breadth of the country, do we have sufficient people? So we can get inspired by that way of living. And yes, we have people who have done wonderful work, which can उनको गुरु तुल्य बोल सकते हैं, लेकिन गुरु तो सेल्फ रियलाइज ही होगा. तो आई से गुरुकुल तो एक बहुत डिस्टेंट ड्रीम है, बट यस, वी कैन टेक द एसेंस ऑफ इट and develop a curriculum. So if you see Anushrav, so I was successful even being a zero, not a nature person initially before the journey started. I never planted a tree. I didn't know any of the things. But today I can grow whatever food I need. I know how to build a house, and I'm growing my own, colors and all around me, and it is working. So the farm is small, so it is not in quantities, but the things are interconnected, and it is very much possible to do it. So it is very I am confident that we can make a curriculum for different age groups. But yes, the thing has to be like a regular course. It should not be a secondary subject. जैसे तुम फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री मैथ्स पढ़ाते हो, हर रोज पढ़ना है, वैसे ही इसको उतना ही इम्पोर्टेंस देंगे तो ही मतलब है. अगर इसको एक सेकेंडरी एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर या को करिकुलर में डाला, तो आई फील वी वोंट बी एबल टू पास ऑन दैट थिंग, क्योंकि ये भी हर रोज कनेक्शन है, हर रोज जाके पौधों को देखना चाहिए, या ऑन अ रेगुलर बेसिस, नॉट वंस इन अ वाइल के चलो कर लिया. तो या वी कैन डेवलप इट. एंड so Anushra will make the format, the template, and then training of the trainers, and through consultancy, we can translate it wherever as and when needed to the different, institutes and places of learning. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Karan. If any question, any more questions we have, feel free to ask questions.
So I was expecting that there would be some questions, like
Otherwise, I have a question actually.
okay, then, you can fill in the void. Yeah.
या करण, मुझे ऐसे पूछना था कि आप जो यहाँ अनुश्रम में प्रैक्टिस करते हैं नेचुरल डाइंग, और as we were talking about, as I think most of us are educators here, looks like educators, and because we educators, we are talking about more on children and how to inculcate all this in children. So मुझे जानना था कि हम अनुश्रम से कैसे सीखेंगे, जैसे हम अभी अर्बन एरियाज में रहते हैं, तो आपका मड किचन एंड नेचुरल इंक एंड पेपर एंड नेचुरल कलर डाइंग, तो हम तक ये कैसे पहुंचेगा, ऐसा मतलब हम कैसे सीखेंगे, ये हमारे डेली लाइफ में हम कैसे इनकलकेट कर पाएंगे?
तो उसके लिए मैंने सोचा है कि अनुश्रव इज जस्ट अ स्मॉल डॉट, like we if we want to spread it, we need replications of it, in many places. So just to start with, initially I'm planning कि few institutes से कोई resource person आए, या I visit there for few weeks or something, and we develop the infrastructure, क्योंकि सिखाना है जैसे कि farm. So initially if you had come on the first year of Anushrav, I could not talk about all this, क्योंकि स्पेस को बनाना पड़ता है ताकि बच्चे देख के समझे. हमें उनको टेक्स्ट बुक के जैसे नहीं दिखाना कि ये इमली है, ये नीम है, ये देखो ये क्या है. वी हैव टू डिजाइन द स्पेस एंड द करिकुलम कि वो जब घूम रहे हैं वो पूछे कि ये क्यों ऐसा दिख रहा है और वो क्यों ऐसा है. देन वी टेल कि ये पत्ते सेम है लेकिन इसका फ्लावर ऐसा है तो ये है, उसका वैसा है तो वो है. देन अगेन द किड विल आस्क कि इसका फ्लावर ऐसा क्यों है और वैसा क्यों नहीं है. Then we have to tell that this is the structure of the flower and this pollinator is there, so it has to develop this kind of structure so that it attracts this categories of insects or pollinators. वो ऐसा है क्योंकि उसको वो pollinate करता है. तो ये जो हमें देना है उसके लिए पूरे स्पेस, द फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर शुड आल्सो सपोर्ट इट. हम खाली 4-5 गमले या एक लाइन में चीजें लगा के नहीं बोल सकते कि ये फार्मिंग है देख लो. So we have to actually consciously build so that the kid while entering the schools and the institute, वो पूरा अपने आप ही हो जाए. तुम्हें बोलना ना पड़े कि ये स्प्रिंग आ रहा है, अब देखो कौन से फ्लावर्स आए. They will come running taking the flowers के, teacher tell us which color it is or what it is. So I want kids come with a curiosity with us to ask questions and learn, rather we put के तुम्हें नेचर को समझना है, तुम्हें सीखना है, तुम्हें ये करना है. So what I am now focusing is कि अनुष्रव
इंटरनेट अनस्टेबल है शायद.
लॉस्ट हिम.
या
एक और चीज नेत्रा मैं पूछना चाहूंगी इनसे,
हाँ,
कोई एक सिंपल प्रोसीजर बताएं. रोज पेटल है तो कैसे उससे डाई कैसे बनाए?
ओके.
कैन शेयर विद आवर चिल्ड्रन. आई थिंक आ गया वापस.
या करण आ गए हैं वापस.
So which question should I answer first? The rose petal वाला.
हाँ वो
Rose petal wala, and we have one more question in the chat box. After rose petals, we can just.
So see, rose petal first of all is an edible stuff. So first thing which I tell people is flowers are for the bees and the birds. Like the nectar is for them. So unless it does not fall from the plant, we should not take it. So even in Anushrav, I use hibiscus flowers for my hair, but I take it in the sunset, what has fallen on the ground and not from the tree. So that is the first thing which we have to tell, that you don't take flowers directly from the plant. In case you really want to take it, you just take the 10th of what you see, not just harvesting entirely like a greedy child. और दूसरा है कि रोज पेटल का कलर इज नॉट गुड फास्टनेस फॉर द फैब्रिक. मतलब तुम कपड़े करोगे वो निकल जाएगा क्योंकि उसका केमिकल स्ट्रक्चर ऐसा है कि वो नहीं रहेगा. लेकिन हाँ, पेपर के लिए हम उसमें से कलर निकाल के पेंटिंग कर सकते हैं. तो कुछ नहीं करना है, यू हैव टू टेक द पेटल्स, एक सॉस पैन में वो डूब जाए उतना ही पानी लेना है. वेरी स्लो फ्लेम, यू जस्ट हीट इट. धीरे धीरे वो पेटल्स का कलर निकल के ट्रांसलूसेंट हो जाएगा. देन यू जस्ट फिल्टर आउट पानी जैसा होगा क्योंकि ज्यादा पानी डाला होगा, कलर इतना नहीं अच्छा लगेगा, तो उसको वेरी स्लो फ्लेम पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करो, जैसे पानी उड़ेगा कलर पिगमेंट कॉन्सेंट्रेट होता जाएगा, and yes, that is an ink or a like a color with which you can use, ask the kids to paint. Okay. और एक दूसरा मेथड है बोटेनिकल प्रिंटिंग ऑन पेपर, जिसका मॉड्यूल हम अभी तैयार कर रहे हैं. So you can use those petals directly to prepare prints on the paper and use as a diary cover or like a kind of a gift or something. लेकिन उसको थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा वो फॉर्मेट एंड द रेसिपीज को स्टैंडर्डाइज करने में. So there are two ways. Now you can just boil the thing and then you know yeah, that way.
For
Paint it with.
everything we need to boil.
And the other question was what inspired me to start this thing. So initially I said that I observed in the dairy when I was working as a trainee for one whole year. I was observing because I'm very good in, so human psychology is what I like to study and observe. So even I go to the market and I just see what everyone is doing. So that was the first thing which helped me. See, I don't want to do that. जितना मुझे पता था कि I cannot go to corporate, I cannot do whatever everyone is doing. And educational institute of today, I wanted to do masters and do PhD till that level. I wanted to really work in the research field, but I decided I will not study further in this educational institute because we are not educated. We are brainwashed and polished to work for the corporate and the industry. There is no scope of human development in the entire education system. So मैं तो education system बोलता ही नहीं हूँ. It is the machine to promote wage slavery. So I wanted to do that further studies or corporate or this or that, but it was a big cross that this is not the right way to do it, and I'm happy because nature is now teaching me far more than what I could have learned and understood the thing. So एक तो पता था कि ये नहीं करना, but then what to do was I was not undecided. I was undecided, and when I took this 1 year and I spent the time in the rural areas and see what's going on in the farm sector, I understood, and then I said it was a 360-degree turn. When I understood that the farming problem or the crisis is a mental one and not a socio-economic political kind of a system, then I realized that if you really want to do something, you have to do it by yourself. No one else is gonna do it. And today is the best time to do it. Like there is no tomorrow where you can do what you always wanted to do. So I feel these are the two main reasons. And I don't have any goal. Like even tomorrow, what I'm going to do, I don't know. I'll just wake up and go in the farm, and I know there will be tons of things to do. So I've understood. So initially in the first year, I had a diary. So I used to write the sowing, the weeding, the watering, and all those things which usually people say that when you are starting farming, you should have a diary and all that. And it was a big mess. क्योंकि management की पढ़ाई तुम डाल रहे हो farming में, which is not based on date. It is based on the cycles of nature. So it was a huge stress on me कि अरे ये आज show करना था, एक हो गया, हो ही नहीं रहा, हो ही नहीं रहा. And the moment I threw away the diary, like I just dumped the clock and calendar from my life, things have become wonderful. So today I know there is tons and tons of work to do, but there is no stress on me. So the third thing which helps me to do what I want to do is because I leave it to nature. I just try to be the medium through which nature wants all these things, what Anushra is envisioning. So the more you let go of your logic and your management and all this thing, the more it helps you to do and listen to your heart. Yeah,
Thank you, Karan.
yeah. I feel we are on time.
Yeah.
Yes. So one thing I would like to say that I'm in the process of designing the farm for the educational experience which I'm talking about. Because see, it's very easy to tell do this, do that, but I want the educators themselves to come and experience it first. So they are themselves convinced that yes, this can be a way to pass on this to the kids. So once that is ready, you guys can just stay in touch with Anushra. So the moment that format and the infrastructure is ready, then we can start actually applying it to different places. And I'm really look forward that more and more people take my learnings forward and just spread it as much as it is possible. So it is not Anushrav's work. I always say that what I do, our forefathers already did. People before me have already done all this which I'm doing, and after me they will also do. So it is not my work or something I am doing. It is something which is the common knowledge of the humanity as a whole. I'm not even saying it Indian or our own history. It is the shared knowledge of the humanity, and it should be used for the good purpose of all of us. So I really hope that you guys can connect and stay in touch so that this can be spread as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, Karan. Thank you. Afia is asking you
Yes.
from whom you were inspired in order to do something so good and thinking out of the box.
Okay. So it's like a person. So I feel there is not a single person or something. Yeah. Initially, I was inspired by one or two YouTubers, but they were not into farming or something. So they were kind of rebellious people, like rebellious in the sense that uh, doing something opposite to what everyone is doing. So that kind of, kind of, it didn't help me actually, but it showed me the possibility that, something like this is also possible. Because we all want to do good. It is just the fear that, we lack that knowledge, we lack that support or this or that. It is not possible. And the second, that is, a very small part of it. The major part was that I knew that I cannot do corporate. I knew I cannot do this. And my family has been the biggest support. Like, today when I talk with you and, see things. So I was also very upset with my family because they also didn't like me doing all this. They feel that I belong to the corporate and I should do that. So I was very this thing that they are not supporting me, this, that. But today when I see, because of my family, even today I have no issues. Like even I fail like miserably, I know they are there always with me. So I feel the family support is the critical, the most important which I've received. Because see, my uncle gave me the land. He said, whatever you want to do, it's fine. Even if nothing grows, there is no one to tell you. So we need this psychological support more than the technical and all this, because that all comes from outside, it goes, vaporizes it. What comes from inside is what stays and keeps you focused on your goal. So yeah,
Yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you, Karan.
yeah, it was nice.
Kamakshi, can we take one more question? We have one question in the
Yes,
chat
we
box.
can. Yes, we can.
या कुलदीप जी पूछ रहे हैं कि इंडिया इज एग्रीकल्चरल कंट्री बट फार्मर्स वर नेवर गिवन द रिस्पेक्ट they deserve. What is your plan to promote our hard working farmers?
So this is very interesting because जब I was in the initial stages, no, so I thought that farmers have to have the same psychological and the social status which doctors of today have. Like उतना तो होना चाहिए, उससे कम तो नहीं होगा. Like teachers का तो अभी कोई value ही नहीं है. लेकिन the teachers of before, like our parents and grandparents age, like no, they were seen with respect. उतना farmers का आना चाहिए. But then I realized कि they have lost the enthusiasm. उन्होंने हार मान ली है, they're mentally broke. Okay. तो उनको कितना भी धक्का मारोगे, like it is like you are wasting your time. So instead, and farming has now become a kind of, I said no, धंधा. कि खरीद के लाना है, बीज डालना है, ये करना है और जो आया वो बेच के घर चलाना है. We have lost the essence of farming as a whole. तो जो ancient India में farmers, so if you see this old Sanskrit text, so they say that like doing a job is the first, doing business is medium, like and doing farming is the best. And they say that if farmers are not there, even the sages will starve. So that was the level of wisdom, that they knew the importance of farmers who grow food for the entire society and the humanity. और उस टाइम में the connection and everything was there, so it was justified that we have to give them that importance. Now, it, see, I am doing this natural farming since years. Not a single neighboring farmer has come and said that they know it works without adding anything. Things grow. They are seeing it, but they are set. They are in their comfort zones. जो भी होना है, मैं मेहनत नहीं करूँगा. स्प्रे छांट दिया, ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया. It's done. So I now find that there is no point in giving them the recognition if they don't value what they are doing. And on the other end of the spectrum, there are people like you and me who are really passionate and working on it. And they are trying to do as much as to, put new energy into the farming, the communities and everything. So I feel it is more justifying to give such people that kind of prestige rather than doing it for everyone. Like, it's like beating in the bush. Let, rather give the importance and value to the real people and not just everyone in the name of farmer. Yeah.
फार्मर तो करण वही रह गया और ट्रैक्टरों की फैक्ट्री बड़ी हो गई, एस्कॉर्ट्स के ट्रैक्टर्स फायदा उठा रहे हैं, अब ड्रोन्स आ रहे हैं, फार्मर वही का वही है, यू नो, दैट इज द धंधा, यू नो, व्हिच इज सो शॉकिंग, यू नो, सो शॉकिंग कि अगर जैसे मैं अगर मंडी में जाती हूँ और वहां पे 10 रुपए किलो टमाटर मिल रहा है, होलसेलर मुझे दे रहा है, तो सोचो फार्मर को क्या मिला होगा. बट द ट्रैक्टर्स एंड द ड्रोन्स एंड द you know, all the chemical fertilizers industries, they are flourishing, they are earning, and the farmer is only there where he was in the beginning as well as today. Very
So,
sad, you know.
so that is what I'm trying to say, that farming
Yes,
is profession, it is a dharma.
धंधा बन गया ये.
जाएंगे, farmers have lost the hope क्योंकि they have to run their family. What you said ना 10 रुपए किलो का, तो when I was in
बिल्कुल.
इतनी मेहनत से वो तैयार करके बोरा लेके जाएगा बेचने और वो बोलेगा ये अच्छा नहीं दिख रहा, इतना ही मिलेगा. लाइक नो माय हार्ट सिंक्स कि हम लोग तो नॉट फॉर द फार्मर बट एज अ कंज्यूमर कि हम किसी को भूखा मार के खुद खा रहे हैं. लाइक वी आर इवन वर्स देन किलिंग एनिमल्स, लाइक तो हाँ, ये जरूरी है कि फार्मर्स को रिकग्निशन मिले, ये सब हो, पर अनलेस वी डोंट टैकल व्हाट यू से द यूज ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल गुड्स एंड मशीनरीज इन द फार्मिंग, तो ये इतना कॉम्प्लिकेटेड इश्यू है ना कि खाली केमिकल्स को करने से ये नहीं होने वाला. एंड ऑल्सो द फार्मर्स ऑफ टुडे आर बिकमिंग मोर एंड मोर स्लगिश. जो पहले मेरे नाना काम करते थे, my uncle tells no one among you is gonna do it even if you are paying them the amount or even if you are giving them that, क्योंकि अब सब हो गया ना एकदम अच्छा चिल रिलैक्स वाला, कौन मेहनत करेगा, घर चल ही रहा है. तो ये मेंटल इश्यू है, तो इसको बहुत ध्यान से सुलझाएंगे तो वी कैन सी सम रिजल्ट इन द कमिंग डेकेड, नॉट ईयर. या
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karan, and thank you everyone for coming and attending the session today. It was a great experience and learning from you, Karan. Farming to dyeing and ink making and sustainable living. There are so many things we explored today and we learned today from you. Thank you very much, everyone. We're going to close the session with 1 minute of silence. I suggest you all to close your eyes. Thank you, everyone. एंड आपको अनुश्रव के बारे में, करण के बारे में और जानना है तो आप अनुश्रव के इंस्टाग्राम पेज को विजिट कर सकते हैं. We will share it in the group. We have a WhatsApp group. The link is there here in the chat box. Those who are not a part of group, you can just directly click on the link and join the group. And you will get the recording of of today's session. And thank you all.
Thanks for everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Karan, if you can stay back for 5 more minutes.